Kruger Park and the Sabi Sands are absolutely massive, and it is a wild area. There are fences between them and the big cities and the borders. Hello, little head. And it's not uncommon to hear of lions going for a walkabout in places like Phalaborwa, which is quite a big city in South Africa, and it's one of the access gates to the Kruger National Park. So it does happen. There are also brown hyenas that live in Johannesburg, that I know. There's leopards that live in Johannesburg and Pretoria, and around Johannesburg and Pretoria. Nature finds a way. But for the most part, as South Africans, we can safely say, no, we don't have lions wandering about the streets of our cities. When that does happen, they get darted and moved back into the reserves that they came from. How are those feet? Oh, I was waiting for that to happen. I wanted to see if both feet would leave the ground. How precious. This cub's got the best of both worlds now, because if Mom rolls over, no matter which way she goes, cub's gonna hang on. Clever. Prosno, yes, the cubs will drink milk until they are full. Sometimes, obviously, the mother can't provide sufficient milk for them to suckle until they're full, so they will continue to suckle until she has stopped producing milk. But yes, they'll suckle if they can until they're full. Remember, the lionesses have to produce lots of milk to fill those little bellies. So it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes they fall asleep suckling. In fact, often they fall asleep suckling. Stop using your mum as a jungle gym. That looks like a little female to me. Anna, you're so cute. Cubs will get their first milk teeth coming through within, if I remember correctly, it's about 10 days that the teeth will start to come through properly, and they are really like needles. They are very, very, very sharp. So it doesn't take long for those teeth to come through, and when they do, they are really very, very sharp. And it takes them quite a long time to lose them, and they don't get... You'll start to see them growing their permanent teeth around about 6 months old. So obviously, like children, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but it's fun to watch, because first the canines and the incisors come in, then the molars, and it does look ridiculous in the beginning. And obviously, like puppies or kittens, they want to chew everything. Jared's buddy, I don't actually think I've ever properly observed when exactly that little black... I mean, they do have little black tips to their tails already, but I've never actually observed at what point it changes to become a fluffy tail. And in some adults, it never does, actually. In some lions, it actually stays relatively untufted, and it's just a sort of a thin streak of black hair. I'm not sure exactly what age it starts to thicken and lengthen out. You'll probably find it around about 4 or 5 months, at a guess. Not that I would ever do that, ever, and I would most definitely never encourage touching wildlife in any way, but I really want to go and tickle its feet. Shame it gets such a fright. Not that I would ever do it, but we're all human. Okay, well, we shift around so that we can see the other cubs on the other side. Let's go across the river to see what Scott is up to.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying what sounds to be a wonderful sighting of those little cute cubs with Jamie. We are just perusing the plains, hoping to come across something. It's a beautiful evening, and we're heading out into the most beautiful of all of the directions one could be heading in at this stage of the evening. Straight towards the setting sun, even though it is masked by clouds, there are still some picturesque scenes that we can enjoy. And stop and listen and see if we don't hear any signs or clues that there may be something interesting here. And it's a fairly still and quiet evening. Marvelous. Hello to Chuckleberry Finn, wonderful to have you on board. And you would like to know if wildfires are a problem in the Mara, or if they are common in the Mara. I'm not sure if they would be a problem, but yes, they certainly will occur here from lightning strikes. But as and when they do not burn as often as they should, there are controlled burns that are done by the park management. So there are certain areas that they keep track of and monitor, and once they haven't burnt, be it natural or man-made, for X amount of years, then a fire will be put in to burn out all the dead growth and create space for new stuff. So, like I say, lightning will certainly be able to cause fires here, just like it will in the Sabi sands, and I guess most natural fires would be caused from a lightning strike. All of them, actually. And it is a necessity for most ecosystems, or a lot of ecosystems, to have fire burn through them. Like I said, it kills off all the dead grass that the animals haven't been able to eat and that have become unpalatable over the years. And wouldn't this be an incredible place to witness a wildfire? I'm sure what we'll do is, as and when we get word that they are even doing the controlled burns, it'll be worth heading towards, because we'll get some incredible scenes and see a lot of birds flocking into those areas to feed on the fleeing insects. Hello to Kristen. You would like to know if the Mara is now littered with skeletons now that the migration is over, and yes, it certainly is. It's littered with more skeletons, but there'll be a lot of the remnants that we see will be from previous migratory years. And I'm sure it won't take us very long to come across a carcass. They are literally littering the plains, but a lot of them, like I say, would have been from years gone by. They take a lot of time to break down and decompose. But yes, there certainly are lots. On the other side of the river, where the grass is shorter, you can see many carcasses. I remember not so long ago, about a week ago, just from one spot we counted 5 or 6 carcasses just randomly. I'm surprised we haven't seen one yet now that we're discussing it, but it's possibly that they are just hiding behind these tufts of grass. Hello to Aiden. You would like to know, why are there not so many trees here? And it's a good question. It's a combination of the animals that live here as well as the soil on the ground. So this soil is mainly very spongy, so it contracts and changes shape quite a lot, which puts pressure on the roots of a lot of plants. So it often tends to stunt them for the trees that do grow. So I guess, you know, the soil type and substrate will be one major cause, but also the animals that live here, because there's elephants moving through the area. They're stopping and eating a lot of the trees before they can grow up, and as well as the trampling hooves of all the wildebeest that come through this area. They keep everything mowed short and open. So a combination of all the different animals feeding on a lot of the plants will cause this to be a very open ecosystem and grassy. But just like where I'm sure you are from, Aiden, you'll find some areas are open and then other areas there's forests. And that's just like here. Even if we stop here now and look up onto the hill, we'll notice not too far away there's lots of big trees, and in the valleys there's lots of forests. So that goes to show that it's a lot got to do with the soil because obviously the same animals live here that can live up on that hill, yet there are more trees up there than there are down here in these plains. Very good. Wonderful to have you with us, Aidan. You're just 6 years old, and I wish I was joining safaris from as young as you are. So keep joining in, and maybe you'll become a safari guide yourself one day. Wouldn't that be fun? For now, you're heading back to Jamie with the cubs.
Being a safari guide is definitely one of the best things on the planet. I feel so fortunate when we sit and we watch scenes such as this one unfolding in front of us. But I agree with Scott. Can you imagine if Safari Live had existed when we were kids? Oh, we would have... I don't think I would have watched anything else. In fact, I think I probably would have forgone all homework. I would have sat glued. I probably would have found a way to watch it at school. Now, times have changed, and I'm really glad that we've got to the point where technology has allowed us to enjoy these experiences. Imagine that. Technology advancing to the point where you can watch lions live in Kenya around the world. Now, I've just been struggling with my binoculars, trying to get them out to just see. Can you hear guinea fowl alarm calling? I can't quite work out exactly where they are. It's just got to that point where it's a little bit too dark. But you never know. That could be due to leopard, serval, another lion, I suppose. Although I don't think we're expecting anyone. There's still alarm calling. Where are you? Can't hear them now. I was just thinking to myself that sausage tree would be a perfect leopard spot. Anyway, let's not distract ourselves from this little scene unfolding in front of us. I've decided not to reposition yet, because as you can see... Oh, did you get something in your foot? As you can see, our little lion cubs are up. And moving about. And chewing on Mom's foot. What better way to enjoy an evening? Such perfect little toes and pads. You can really see the 3 lobes at the back. Hey, bring your foot back. We were examining that. Ah, milk. Milk time again. Tucking in. Okay, let's reposition, because there's going to be this amazing... Oh. No, don't worry, thanks, Virgo. I've mastered the... Watch me spill it everywhere now. I've mastered the one-hand driving with tea routine. It becomes essential. It becomes absolutely essential out here. After a long day, cups of tea are ultimately one of the most sustaining things on the planet. I feel, anyway. Oh, here's to a glorious sunset. This is... You want me to stop there, Ferg?
A little further.
A little further. Listen, there's only a bit of coordination this requires, huh? Now swing my right hand down. Okay, now I'm going to swing my left hand down, but in reverse. With a cup in the other hand. And stop. Cheers, everyone. Here's to a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. And curious little cub faces. I don't think you'd like tea very much, little ones. How's that scene? Not bad, huh? Munchkin. I don't think I've drastically improved our view, but it's definitely added the sunset. Silas and Christopher, who are both 13 years old. They are twins. So obviously very familiar with having a sibling of the same age, much like these lion cubs. Now, you want to know about what the average lifespan of a lion is. Well, typically the females live a little bit longer than the males. You're usually looking on average at around about 13 or 14. Sometimes in really excessive cases they can live a little bit older than that. Oldest lioness I ever encountered was 16 years old, but that's unusual. The males live a very tough life, and they have to fight other males on an almost constant basis in order to maintain their territory, and as a result they have a shorter life expectancy. And you usually... Look, there's a little one. Where are you going? Sorry I drew attention to that little one. But it was just the cutest. It's hard to know where to look in a situation like this. I mean, there goes the milk bar again with one determined cub clinging on. Not about to lose its meal. This little one having a yawn. The other one climbing on mum. There we go. This is the moment we were waiting for. Maria, lions can sleep up to 20 hours a day. It's not uncommon for them to do that, particularly when they have full bellies. Oh, goodness. What a screenshot that's going to make. Maria, but then by the same token, I mean, that is the statistic that is often trotted out. And whilst it absolutely is the case, they can sleep for that long. I've also, in the time that I've sat with lions overnight here in the Mara, those things can mission, especially lionesses with cubs to feed, especially when there isn't the abundance of the migration. I've followed the Angamas who've not really properly rested for 12 hours on the go. From the moment the sun went down, right up until the sun came back up again. And even then they were still busy. Yes, they napped for half an hour, 45 minutes, and then got going again. But still, they are actually quite busy creatures when they want to be, when they're hungry. Oh, you little things. You little dumplings. There you can see size difference between two different cubs of different ages. The one in front is quite a lot smaller than the one at the back. Look at it. There's that instinct. I don't know how many of you have cats at home. If your cat's ever had one of those moments where it just randomly decides to attack you and give you a few solid kicks with its back feet. The same instinct applies to lions when they fight with each other. And leopards. Leopards especially will do that. And it's very comfortable. Ilana, very, very good question, because it's something we touch on but we never go into in any great detail. So Ilana's wondering, as we know, males are not part of a pride. They control a territory, and that territory includes the territory of perhaps one pride, perhaps several prides. But they are a distinct entity from the lion pride itself. So Lana's wondering how many lion prides a coalition can be dominant over. I think it very much depends upon the territories of the lionesses. I think it depends upon the males, the size of the coalition. So, you know, a two-male coalition obviously has to work hard to patrol their territorial boundaries, and their territory is probably going to be a little bit smaller. Not always, but there's a chance that on average it'll be smaller. So, I mean, it could be anywhere from one single pride, I would say, up to... I'm trying to think what the most I've ever personally seen. I would say the most I've ever personally seen is about 5. You know, in the large coalitions, things like the Mapochos or the Birmingham Boys back in South Africa, they hold very large territories. And as a result, that often includes the territories of several females. Got your tail. Got your... Oh, that's going to start to hurt. That is seriously going to start to hurt. Ow. So tough. What they put each other through. Fortunately, they've got that thick layer of fur. You see. It's time. No. An all-out wrestling match now. I've even lost track of how many cubs went in there. I think 5 of them. One's out. Had enough. Had enough. My tail's been pulled enough. They're just at such a wonderful age now. When they're smaller than this, they're cute, but they're quite unaware of, you know, they're little teddy bears, whereas now at this point they've got that curiosity of a baby animal that's just starting to become properly aware of the world around it. I love that stage. All that learning. Gentle tackle. Every now and again the play gets a bit too rough and you hear the odd growl, and then you remember just how ferocious they're going to grow up to be, because I always find that lion cubs make adult sounds. They certainly can't roar like the adults, but my goodness, they can make a threatening sound when they want to. We've heard them growling over their meals. It's a deep sound for such a little creature. They look so different, these two. There's such a difference in their eyes. Hello. You, on the right, are a curious little creature. You've got that look about you. Bye-bye. Right, now if all 9 of you could please come and line up with your tails lifted, then we would be able to tell how many males and females. Sky, no, actually. They've been almost silent while we've been sitting here. The only thing I can hear is the wildebeest a little bit further up the hill. I'll be quiet for a moment and you can listen. It is quite windy, I warn you. See the wind howling. Sorry, I didn't even realize Ferg had spotted this little one. I was just mesmerized. We've got a lion cub right next to our car. I say right next to us, that's a slight exaggeration. It is. If I try and keep my head out of the way. Maybe 3 meters away? No, 4 meters away. So 12 feet. Let's not split hairs. It's quite close. Found a stick. Come on, you can come too. You can come too. We don't bite. Stick. Hi. Where do you think you're going? Hey? Sorry. Sorry. Riti, yes, they will. So Riti's wondering about inbreeding. Hey, you little thing. Riti's wondering about inbreeding, and yes, it does happen. Obviously, animals are not governed by a sense of moral code. They're governed by hormones in that respect. And so, yes, if males reach sexual maturity and females reach sexual maturity, then they will mate with their siblings. A male will also mate with his mother. A male will also mate with his daughter. That is one of those things that does happen. Groups have evolved. I do apologize, we keep disappearing off your screen. Not entirely sure why, because I haven't moved, but we do apologize for that. No, it is causing great distress. All I was going to say was simply that that's one of the reasons why young males are kicked out once they reach sexual maturity. Their dads don't want the competition, and it's nature's way of ensuring that doesn't happen. But it does happen. It does occasionally happen, and lions are quite resistant to the dangers of inbreeding. So they can actually breed successfully with close family members without any real damage being done for a few generations. Now, the same applies to anything out here. Leopards, cheetahs, anything. You found yourself a tree to play with. Paula, I think in this kind of scenario where the mothers are close by resting and the cubs know this area very well, they'll be more inclined to actually venture quite far from their mothers. I've seen lion cubs go wandering off over 200 yards away from mothers before, sometimes even further. And ultimately that's what happened with many months ago with the Nkahuma cubs, the two that went missing, because they actually ran ahead to the water. They thought that they were going straight to the water hole, and then the pride didn't catch up with them, and then they got lost, and they must have scouted ahead about 500 yards or so. And the end result was actually that the lion cubs didn't reunite with the rest of their pride until I think it was about a day and a half later. I think it was in the morning they were separated, and if I'm not mistaken, no, it was 2.5 days. I can't remember. One of you will be able to tell me. One of you will be able to tell me exactly how long it was. It was a few days. It was a few days, because I remember we were actually really concerned about the whole situation. We had no idea where the two little cubs had gone. And they arrived a little thin, but none the worse for the wear, and very, very relieved looking. I can't believe the Nkahuma cubs once looked like this. I remember it so well, it feels like yesterday. Thanks, Jojo. You say it was 3 days. Okay, so it was 3 days. I do remember now. We were concerned. Oh, those tails are just the most irresistible chew toys. And probably the most painful ones. I'm gonna kick you in the face. Ouch. The cubs they get away with rough play like this with their mothers, but only to a certain point. And then the mothers turn around and actually nip them or smack them or growl at them. Doesn't matter what size the tail is, it's an irresistible lure for a lion cub. Lioness is giving us a big yawn. Julian, who is 10 years old and is from the Brun family. Julian, yes, these are the mothers of the cubs. I wouldn't be able to tell you which cub belongs to which mum. It's impossible at this point. It's just one squirming mass of lion cubs. But yes, these 3 lionesses are the mothers of the 9 cubs. Absolutely. Another little girl, I think? Oh, hard to tell. It's starting to get a little bit dark. Aww. No, Mom, I don't want to bath. I want to play. I want to play. Play with me. Mother's face is a picture of tolerance. Rob, yes, absolutely. It is possible. So in this case, the little cubs are very, very close in age. But Rob is wondering if a large cub sibling will be... That is yes. She had quite a long chat about this yesterday. It's one of the reasons why lionesses keep their cubs hidden for a good 6 weeks before introducing them to the rest of the pride. And it's because older cubs, they don't mean harm, but they're boisterous, you know, and they're that much larger than the little cubs. And you can see how rough the little cubs are with each other. Now imagine that with a cub that's 4 times their size. And it does occasionally, very occasionally, result in the death of small cubs, especially if mom is inexperienced and she brings them back to the pride too soon. And that's quite tragic, because you find yourself imagining this lioness proud of her first litter of cubs and not quite knowing and wanting to show them and join and get the security and the support of the rest of her pride. And while we watch them, Ferg is just going to try and multitask. You're going to manage there, Ferg. You're just going to take them out. Ah, there we go. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to set up our infrared lights so that we can show you these guys as it gets dark. We're going to send you across to Scott, who's been battling with his.
Yes, I am battling with my Fleer. The reason being is that Brent or Jamie took my one, and now I have their one, which is slightly different to mine, and I don't know how exactly to make it work. But we will make do with the current setup and continue forth. We've just had a cup of tea for Craig, coffee for myself and Joseph, our Askari or Ranger, and now we venture forth into the unknown. It sounds like it's been a very, very cute sighting with Jamie. I'm glad you've been getting spoilt with her and those lion cubs. You may see a few flashes of lightning out to the southwest. Tanzania will be getting some rain, and I'm looking forward to getting some more rain here. This has been the longest spell that we haven't had rain in since at least I arrived in the Mara. Usually every day or two we would have at least a little downpour, but it's been dry for about a week, other than of course a tiny bit of drizzle that we had earlier. Hello to Teresa, who's, I'm guessing, joining for the first time because you're not too familiar with these surroundings and are asking if this is a normal kind of a park or reserve. Is it just for the animals? Yes, it is just for animals, and there's so many different parks in Africa, Teresa, that have got very different terrain and scenery and animals. This is probably one of the most iconic and most documented wilderness areas, both the Mara ecosystem and the Serengeti ecosystem, which are combined. They are only divided by an invisible border between Kenya and Tanzania, and the animals roam freely, the Great Migration, so there's a lot of spectacles to capture, and there is also wide open spaces, which makes filming very easy. So there's a few reasons why this area has become so popular. What I'm going to ask Craig to do is just to zoom in that area over there and see if we can't get some of the lightning. A little bit to the right is where it's mainly been. Now if you zoom in there, we should get some. It's been quite active in that area. Let's give it a moment or two and see if we can't see any bolts of lightning descending from the clouds. There was literally bolts. Oh, there we go. That was a little one. Oh, that was a good one. That's where we need to be zoomed in, right there, Craig. If you zoom in a bit there, we should be good. There's a lot of lightning out in that direction. Come on. The trick is every time I look up to look where the most lightning is, I'm not sure if I'm missing it in the monitor or what. Oh, there was another one. Seems like luck is not on our side, so we will continue. So we haven't had the most eventful afternoon, Craig and I. We've just been driving around hoping for any form of action, but have yet to come across too much. But that will hopefully change now that the dark has kicked in. Hello to Aidan, good to know you're still watching. You would like to know, what is the hardest animal to find? Phew, there's quite a few tricky ones to find out here. I mean, out of the popular animals, the leopard has been, oh sorry, not the hardest, the easiest animal to find. The easiest animal to find here is either zebra or wildebeest, I would say. And maybe that's because there's a large population of zebra that live just on our kind of driveway in and out of the reserve from camp, so we often see zebra. This probably hasn't been a drive that I haven't seen many zebras, so I'd guess that's probably one of the easiest. And even though the migration is moving away from here now, there will still be a lot of zebra and wildebeest that remain behind. Not all of them join in on that very big movement from up here in Kenya down into the country below us called Tanzania. So I guess, yeah, that would probably be the easiest. It'll be interesting to hear what Brent and Jamie think is the easiest animal to find. So this little light camera that I'm using here is a thermal camera, and it's actually great for spotting at night because it can pick up glows of animals from quite far just using their body heat. So I'll be using that to swivel around. Sadly, our spotlights on this vehicle has broken, and getting spares out here is not easy, so we are without a spotlight. So I'm just using this as the spotlight. Good, well Jamie's managed to rig up her infrared lights and the lions are still playing, so off you go, enjoy.
Actually, the lions are just getting up. The one lioness wandering off in the direction of the male, and all 9 cubs thinking about following. Occasionally having a little bit of a coordination fail, like the one on its back on the right. There we go, up you get. Lioness listening to the wildebeest, I think, that I can hear canoeing not far from where we are at all. Little cubs yowling. Now they've got an advantage this evening, and that's the fact that it's cloudy. Yesterday, with the full moon out, I think all of the predators of the Mara would have had a really tough time hunting. I think they would have really struggled to sneak up on things without being... we could see perfectly last night. There were moon shadows. It was beautiful. But now the moon is covered by the clouds, and that might actually stir the lionesses earlier than expected. They might just decide to make a play for those wildebeest. And then all 9 cubs can reap the benefits of the migration being back in town. What I really want to see is the cubs with the males. I always find it endearing just how gentle male lions are with their little ones. Might be that the lionesses are a bit protective, but I don't think so. They seem to all be happy friends. Oh, that storm. Please don't come our way. Lightning in the distance. I'm not sure if it's going to hit us. I find it absolutely impossible to predict the weather here. I never know what it's going to do. At least in Djuma, you know it comes from one direction. Speaking of lightning, actually, and the weather conditions, while we wait for our lions to stir, Jared's buddy, yes, giraffe get hit by lightning. Less so in areas like this where there's a bit of cover and they're not the sort of the standalone points, but in places where it's quite open and when there's a little tree cover, yes, they do get hit by lightning. Well, in fact, all animals. Again, I haven't. Oh, shame! Did you fall down? Now they're making a noise, but the wind is howling. We're not going to be able to hear it properly. All animals run the risk of being struck by lightning, especially if they're sheltering from a storm underneath a tree. I think I've told the story before of I think it was about 10 impala carcasses that I found once on a walk. Scattered, it looked like it was very grisly, and they'd all been struck by lightning underneath a smouldering tree. But giraffe in particular run that risk. Ah, see, we've gone very far. That's the lion equivalent of turning the pillow over at night to put your face on the cold side. Just moving ever so slightly to a cooler patch of ground. Oh! Now they're talking. Of course, as the wind picks up. This is the best time to be sitting with these cubs. Wide awake now, after their long afternoon nap. Oh, now I'm sure you've all been wondering, Scott and myself have been chattering away. I'm sure you've all been wondering where Brent has vanished off to. Well, I'm not going to tell you, mainly because I don't know, but let's go and find out from the man himself.
This evening. Yes, we're live. Hi. Sorry, we've been fighting gremlins again for a bit. It seems like they only attack us in the afternoon. And in areas we were in this morning where we had absolutely no problem. So maybe the gremlins are mutating to be only afternoon based, but we went and had a look for that leopard. Unfortunately, no luck. Oh, what is that? Oh, it's a little. Oh, he's gone. But there was a little. Oh, he's popping his head out. Let's go in Kalamanu. No, lower. Just a little bit lower. There we go. Up a bit. Right to the bit. Okay, down a little bit. There we go. You see the movement, center frame. Look there. There's a little mouse, a little gerbil of sorts. Hello, little guy. Look at him. He's coming out. Now, these little guys will have numerous bolt holes, especially after the wildebeest have been here, because there's no grass for them to hide in, and the amount of grass owls that you get in the Mara is spectacular. So any sign of danger, and he makes a dash. Oh, he's coming out. Is he coming out? You come to say hello? Is he still behind that little root? Or is he gone back under? I think he's gone back under. Shame. Well, let's leave him be. Now, I just bumped into Moses, who's I was chatting to earlier over the lions, and he said he just saw a sighting you won't believe. And I'm jealous, but I'm not. It's actually quite a disturbing sighting that he just saw. And what actually happened is there is a hyena den not too far from where we are at the moment, and he was there after he left the lions, and he said they saw, which almost never happens, a female hyena gave birth outside of the den, but he thinks it was a very low-ranking female because another female came in and immediately ate the babies while they're just born and still screaming and still alive. So, as I said, really interesting behavior. Sort of glad I wasn't there. I think it'd been quite traumatic to have watched that, but as I said, even with a lot of the animals, there's still so much stuff we can learn that hasn't been documented yet. So while I continue to drive and try basically blind the gremlins with my large spotlight, let's go to Scotty, who's doing the same but without the gremlin trouble.
Well, I'm glad you got to see Brent, and that he is in one piece, having been off the radio waves for a while. It's a nice warm evening, and really enjoying the warm evenings that we're experiencing in the last couple of weeks. Usually, as soon as the sun goes down, or even before, at least in the last 3 months, you'd already have on a jersey or two. But now it's warming up quite nicely as we head into the Kenyan summer. So we haven't seen a singular creature since you left us, but we continue to try our luck, and we're heading into an area now where we may be lucky enough to bump into the Sausage Pride, which is, well, the Sausage Tree Pride rather, which is a pride that hangs out in this area that we're moving into now. Hello to Handy Mike. You would like to know what the speed limit is in the Mara. It's probably around 50 or 60 kilometers an hour. I haven't seen any signboards, but that's kind of the usual speed limits in reserves. It's usually about 50. But unlike the Kruger National Park, they don't have speed cops here in the Mara. In the Kruger National Park, be warned. Stick to the speed limit, otherwise you will be caught. But here, no one's really going to catch you. So from time to time you do need to put your foot down. In theory you can. And a lot of the guides, to be fair, I mean, they need to drive fairly quickly to be able to show their guests as much of this massive playground as possible. So your average safari distance and length of distance will be much further here than in the Sabi Sands. Alrighty. Well, Jamie has not left those lines, and thankfully she has decided to head to them today, otherwise you'd be relying on Brent and I, who haven't had much to contribute to this afternoon's safari. So off you go.
I'm very glad I came to visit these lions, not just obviously because we've spent so much time with them, but because they're just so utterly adorable. A really lovely scene here, not just with the cubs but also with the lionesses as well. And the affection between pride members is very, very apparent in moments like this. It's not just the cubs that get attention. Rachel, you want to know if lions and other big cats purr in the way that house cats do? Technically, no. I have heard them make deep rumbling sounds in situations where you would expect a house cat to purr. So when they're happy, or when they're comforted, then they make a deep sound, but it's not purring. It's not the vibration that domestic cats are able to produce, and that's because of the way that their voice boxes are structured, and the suspensorium, the hyoid bone, the hyoid apparatus. It is the way in which they produce those massive roars. It means that they can't purr. Cheetah can purr. Cheetah can't roar. Cheetah can purr. And it's actually quite, I don't know, it's quite disconcerting almost watching cheetah fight, because they squawk like birds, they cheep like birds. It's a very peculiar sound to hear from a cat that we consider to be a big cat, which is why that a cheetah, one of the big reasons why cheetah are not included in the Panthera genus in the way that lions and leopards are. But I have heard them making deep growls of contentment rather than irritation. And you'll hear it especially when the female's enticing the male to mate with her, although there's a little bit of aggression in that as well. Oh, well, the good news is Brent's luck has turned. He might not have found the leopard he was searching for, but he has found something else with spots.
Well, we have indeed, and it looks like there's quite a few of them here. Now, I just told you about there was a hyena clan close to here, and these are certainly members of that same clan that committed that horrific act earlier today. Oh, what just gave the hyena a fright? Let me check that there's... Or is he about to charge? Okay, so they might be working the wildebeest herd at the moment. So there's probably about 10,000 or so wildebeest in front of us, and we've got about 5 or 6 hyenas. So this is how hyenas will often hunt the herd. There we go, see, they get them onto a run, and they're looking for any little bit of weakness. And they use that incredible stamina of theirs. Just run next to the herd, and you can see all the wildebeest in the background, just checking for weakness. Checking for weakness. Now, of course, these wildebeest have had to cover so much ground. They often break legs or get little injuries. And see the chaos that hyena is creating. Just a single hyena having a little jog. Manu. Oh, has he spotted something? No, he stopped. I just want to go back to where the other 5 hyenas were. So just come out. They were. See if they... No, they're just coming through here. So I thought they might wait for the wildebeest to run into them. But no such luck. But they are incredibly patient hunters. And they can do this for hours on end. Now, we're staying quite far away. Wildebeest panicking. Isn't it a very nice spot to be? Hi, Lynn. Lynn says she's never seen hyena hunt before. Well, the hyena of the Mara are very good hunters. They not only hunt the herd when they're here, but the big clans in this area hunt buffalo, hunt hippo. Okay, man, I'm just going to do a quick scan to see where the others are. Oof, the dust being... You can just see if I put my light in there, look at that dust that the wildebeest running up and down is creating. Oh, so if I start sneezing, you know why. No, I'm just trying to figure out where the other hyena's gone. Oh, all of a sudden. Oh, there they are. Let's get a bit closer. See what's cracking once we're a bit closer. So, as I said, these hyenas can do this for hours and hours. I'm definitely going to stay with them to see if they do get up to any more mischief with the herd. But at the moment, you can just see this dust. I can't even see the wildebeest. There's so much dust at the moment. Barely see the hyenas, and they're right near us. Hello, Lady Starfire. Lady Starfire is wondering, how big is a hyena clan's territory? Well, this is what they think of their unsuccessful hunt. Let's have a snooze in the road. So it all depends on where their territory is. So, and let's take the desert areas of Africa, for example. Spotted hyena have massive clan territories, pushing well over 20,000 hectares, 30,000 hectares even. The Sabi sands, you found that the hyena clan territories are probably between 3,000 and 5,000 hectares. But he's a young one, learning the ropes of chasing the herd. But in the Mara, they're probably, depending on the clan size as well, are probably a similar size to the Sabi Sands hyena clan territories. However, the clan sizes are very big. Your average clan size in the Greater Kruger is probably 15 to 25 individuals. And here you have clans that go over 100. And in the Sand River area, the clan in this area is probably about 60 or 70 strong. Hello. Oh, it was very tiring being unsuccessful at hunting. We're just going to have a break and go harass the wildebeest again a little later.
Oh, our hyenas are getting lazy and have given up the go when it comes to hunting the herds. For now, it sounds like Jamie's lions are stretching and getting ready to possibly head into the herd.
That's what I'm thinking as well. I'm thinking these lionesses have that on their minds. They've obviously been listening to the sound of the wildebeest. Well, the cubs look so disgruntled, my goodness, that their mothers could get up and leave them. Oh, well, there's still one lioness remaining, but I don't think it'll be long before she gets up. You can just see the male's eyes in the background. There he is. He doesn't seem to be stirring. Yeah, it's been a rough day, and he knows the lionesses are going to kill something. Oh, hold on, I'm in a tangle, and I just want to get my spotlight out just to check where the lionesses have gone, and if there's anything immediately close to them. No, they're still hanging out around the bushes. Okay, lionesses, what have you got planned for us tonight? They went and phlegm and grimaced, where the males obviously have scent marked. Oh, and she's down again. Okay, while our lionesses make up her mind, I've been with the apex predator of the Mara, but both Brent and Scott have had success this evening with hyenas.
We have just stumbled upon a clan of hyena. There's about 5 or 6 of them that I've seen so far. And let me just keep coasting back a little bit. They're heading in the opposite direction to what we were. So we can just coast alongside them if I can try and stay on the road, which I'm not doing a good job of doing. I've rectified. Welcome back. I'm glad things are heating up with... Let me just actually go a bit faster and then stop rather. I'm glad things are heating up with Jamie and those lions and Brent and a hyena harassing the wildebeest. Good stuff. And let's see if we can't stop here and get some better views of them walking alongside us. There we go. Hello. I wonder where you're off to. Your stomach is empty, so I'm sure you're going to travel a long way until you find something to nibble on. If you have to catch it for yourself, or steal it from a leopard or a lion, or just wait for them to finish, only they will sadly know. They'd be awesome animals to follow. The reason why we don't follow them is because, for some reason, they're a little bit nervous of vehicles, as in when. More so than I've noticed with lions. So you don't want to interfere, and if you feel like you're being intrusive, then of course you don't stick around. So I sometimes get that feeling when following hyenas. And another problem, which makes our lives tricky, is that they just move so much faster than lion or leopard or cheetah would. They often trot from A to B, so to just make off-roading and following them quite tricky. Good evening, Kathy in Ohio. You would like to know if hyena will follow lion with the knowledge that they'll be able to snack on the lion's kill. Like I said, either if they manage to steal it from the lion, or they often just wait for the lion to finish and they can crunch through bones and eat parts of the remaining carcass that the lions cannot. So yes, they certainly do. They don't only follow lions, they also follow cheetah. We've seen them following the Musketeer Coalition on numerous occasions, and also leopard down in the Sabi sands. There's no two ways about it. Often, even when you are following leopard tracks down in the sands, there'll often be hyena tracks in tow. So yes, indeed, but we mustn't forget that hyenas can and do hunt for themselves. It does depend on the area that you find them in. The same species, the spotted hyena, is widely spread through sub-Saharan Africa, and their behavior can differ quite greatly from one area to the next. We've already noticed here the clans are far larger than down south on Djuma, and I think here the hyena probably do also a little bit more hunting than down on Djuma, but that's just my little theory. Good stuff. Enough of my theories. You'll be getting far more wise ones from Jamie Patterson with the lions.
What I'm doing very quickly while we're sitting with these lions is I am setting up our View Pro, which is our thermal, our flare, so that if they do decide to get up and hunt, I will be ready for it and we can actually follow them and we can see exactly how they go about their hunting process. The reason that we use it, I think it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of not shining lights when the animals are hunting, but there's another reason. When we watch through the infrared, through the eyes of the camera, obviously our cameramen zoom in and they follow the one line they can see, and then what I do, what my job is to keep an eye on the heat signatures of the other lions at the same time, so that we can get an idea of exactly how everybody's working together as a team. And the only way I can do that in the pitch black is, because I can't use lights, is to follow their heat signatures. Going to just quickly figure out why it's not on. Nita, you want to know where the cubs will go? When the lionesses go hunt, usually they'll leave them tucked away in a safe place. It's amazing how the instinct of, there we go, hello, that beeping was the thermal camera turning on, I hope. Hello. Usually the cubs will actually stay in a safe place, often close to the den site, somewhere where they are familiar with. Especially at this age, the instinct is to stay put. As they get older, they become more of a pain for the lionesses because they often don't stay put, they often follow behind them. And that's just me ripping some gaffer tape. And then it becomes a lot more hard work for the lions because obviously the cubs don't know what they're doing and they tend to mess things up. So it's the only way that they can learn about the whole process. Why won't you come on? Holly, yes, the lionesses probably would leave the cubs with the males being that close. Because they might actually try and hide them somewhere, but because these males are familiar with these cubs, the lionesses have seen them around the cubs, they might get a bit protective if they see the male approaching, but because they know that these males believe these cubs to be their own, that is probably the case, but not necessarily. But the males certainly believe that that's the case. So because of that, for that reason, the lioness knows that it's counterproductive for the males to be aggressive with the cubs. So yes, it is possible that they would leave them with the males. I have seen. Where have all the cubs gone? Oh, there they are. Oh, sorry. My hand was in the way. My hand was in Ferg's way, trying to fix my flare. Why won't you turn on? When in doubt, unplug and replug, huh? Should work. Okay. That. Okay, forgive me. I'm going to... Oh, I've been an idiot. I know exactly why it's broken. It's not broken, it's me plugging the wrong thing in. Sorry. Okay, while we wait for our lions to get up and move about, let's go back over to Brent to find out what he's going to do with his evening.
Well, different group of hyenas with the herds around, and you can see something's chasing the herds in the background. It could be another hyena. They could just be getting a bit silly. So we've only got 2 hyenas here. It's more than enough. There's still a lot of wildebeest. All the wildebeest that are coming out of the conservancies now are all in this area between Kruger and Silas. There's still a few down towards Ashnells. What are you looking at? Are we going to go set off on an attempted hunt now? Or we just... I think the other one, I think we actually found a hyena chasing a hyena here. But not seriously. See, there's the other one. Sitting on top of the termite mound. Dom Shark is wondering, will hyena adjust their territories based on male lion territories? Now, I have heard of that in certain parts of Africa, especially in... What is going on? There's something that they're nervous about over there. Let's just go have a quick look beyond the hyenas. Maybe there is, as Dom Shark's wondering about male lions. So, it all depends on also what other hyenas are around. So they can't really adjust their territory if they're going to move straight into a big clan. What they might do is try avoid areas that the male lions are in, and maybe move their den a little bit. But they can't really adjust their territories. The hyena clan territories are really set in stone, and the hyenas in the clan will defend it to the end. No, it looks like they're not. I don't know what they got a fright from. All I can see is wildebeest. Well, let's go back to the road. Oh, where am I? No, try. It's one thing when it gets dark here and we've got all these lights on. It's quite easy to lose your sense of direction. Okay, there we go. That's west. We are heading southish. Hello, Howard. There you go. Off you go. Looks like it's been lying in mud for the day. Jeff is wondering, oh, there's another one who's been lying in the mud all day. Oh, fatty. Can the animals smell the difference between each other's scent marks and the different scent marks? Indeed they can, Jeff. They really can. And well, I'm sure, although a hyena probably can't decipher a lion's scent mark too well, they can definitely smell that it's a lion. Vice versa with lion, leopard, etc. But I think all the little complicated chemical communications that happen between members of the same species will stay with the species. I don't think they'll be able to discern the different complicated chemical messages left by a lion if you're a hyena. But if you're a hyena, you can definitely, even if it's not a member of your clan. Ooh, no stars tonight as well. That always makes navigation a bit funny. Now what I am slowly trying to do is make my way back towards those young male lions, and it looks like these hyenas are actually running in that direction. So we could get some interesting interaction around there. So I think I'm going to do is try a race ahead of these hyenas. Okay, well, I try to get down to where those lions had that zebra kill. Let's go back to Jamie with her lions.
Our lions are making their way in the direction of the male. Let's see whether he attracts the curiosity of the cubs. He's up, he's watching with sort of a level of distraction. He's going to give us a big stretch. And now all of us are heading down in that direction. And the big yawn, maybe he'll roar for us. That would be a spectacular way to end off our safari. I just want to watch the interaction with the lionesses and the male before we reposition, because if we try and move now, we're going to miss it. So let's just watch this a little bit. Oh. Okay. That one's not popular. Sorry, boy. You're in the doghouse without even knowing why. They just don't want him near the tiny cubs. That's quite clear. It's amazing the dynamics between lionesses and male lions. And so often you actually see them being quite affectionate with each other. Now the cubs are going to go towards the males, now that they've seen how how scared he is of Mum. Sorry, boy. You didn't do anything wrong. What is this little thing? Nah. Not that interesting. I actually feel quite sorry for him. I understand why the lionesses did it. Hey, she's coming to check. Make sure he doesn't do her cub any harm. Male lions are unpredictable to the lionesses, and they want to just make sure that nothing untoward happens when the cubs are so small. Or should he trying to tell the cubs that is a whole different tale. Hey, Dad. With the size difference? Total lack of interest from the male. Didn't even look around. Perhaps he's learned his lesson. Come on, boy. You know what would be really spectacular? Would be if we finished the night with a roar. Just putting in a request. Too sweet. I know that all of you love the sound of the cubs, and I promise you if we could, we would. And the wind has died a little bit, but it's still coming through in gusts, and unfortunately while our human ears can distinguish between the different sounds, it's really very difficult for the microphone to pick up the sound of the cubs. Ferg, do you think you can get it now that the wind's dropped a bit? Now they've all gone away. That's not very helpful. I'll try, because the cubs have been talking lots to Mum.
We'd have to move forward a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Now we can shift around. Now that that whole process is sorted. There we go. Let's see. Tate, no, the lions don't always roar at exactly the same time. The best time to hear a lion roar is at around about this time of the evening or first thing in the morning. That's when they most commonly roar. I have sat with lions some evenings, and we've spent a lot of time with these lions all the way through the night. And sometimes they have a completely silent night. Completely quiet night. So no, they're not like roosters. They don't always call. Right, now Brent mentioned that the hyenas were running in the direction of that kill. I think that his prediction might have turned out to be true.
Well, there we go. They did. Both those hyenas came here, but since they got down here and they saw how many lions there were, the two hyenas decided, I don't know, is this such a good idea for us to attempt to steal the kill? And you can see the lions aren't too perturbed at the sight of two hyenas. I think if there were 20 hyenas, it would be a very different story. Now, what's going to be interesting to see is if this hyena starts whooping and calling for reinforcements. I'm just going to go off to the right a little bit. I want to see where the other one went. There it is down there.
Hello everyone. We've got ourselves into a very exciting position here. We've just stumbled across 3 lioness, and they are creeping up on some eland. There's one lioness, you can see her there. She's using this small little bank to her advantage. The wind is blowing towards them, and this is a good situation. They're hunting quite large prey. There's another lioness. Let's find the eland off to the right quickly, Craig. Welcome to everyone who has just joined us on Facebook. We are coming to you live from the Masai Mara. We've got 3 lioness creeping up on some very large and difficult prey to eland. Now, it seems like this lioness is trying to flank the eland. The eland, I'm guessing, are about 50 meters ahead of her. Let's try and have a quick look and see how far the prey is away. It's a slightly windy evening, which is going to help these lions because it's going to muffle the sound of their footsteps as they approach their prey. A little bit more to the right, somewhere in relation to this tree, we did have a couple of eland, which are, like I say, quite large prey items. There they are. Oof, and that looks like a big bull. You can just make out his horns, and they are massive, massive antelope, the largest antelope in Africa. So it will be an epic, epic showdown if a lioness does manage to get onto the back of one of these Goliaths. Now, like I said, there were 3 lioness, one of which we can see there. She is the furthest, and I think she's trying to do her best to flank them. There's another 2 lioness somewhere between us, the eland, and this lioness. So there's a bit of a triangle almost formed between the predators and the prey at the moment. Look at her creeping up. This is perfect, perfect conditions. Hello, Riti, you would like to know if they wouldn't go for a smaller eland. Yes, they certainly would if there was one there. But all that I saw were 2 eland, and I think both of them are big bulls. So there's a strong chance if one of these lioness do get onto the back of the eland, it's going to be a bit of a rodeo for her to hang on. Oh, this is so exciting. I've never ever seen lion hunt eland before, so this is a first for me. And it is a great, great pleasure to be sharing this with you live here in Kenya. It's just gone 7:35 p.m. Now you've got a good idea of how much distance the lioness has to cover before she gets to the eland, which are those glowing eyes over there. Oh, the eland sensed something. It's getting up, and look at how big he is. Look at the size of his neck. He is an absolute beast. Let's see if he looks at us again. You'll get a better idea of how big the muscles are on the side of their neck. There we go. Look at that. An absolute brute. And there's another one further off to the right of him. Let's see if that one's still relaxed. That one's still lying down. 2 big old boys. Now I'm guessing this is the Angama pride, judging from the area that we found them in. So there could be a 4th lioness somewhere else. Let's try and work out where this lioness is. Hello, Ellen. You'd like to know how fast these eland are compared to other prey animals, and it's hard. Well, they're quite a lot slower because they're big and bulky. So kind of like a buffalo. They're not very fast, but they rely on their size to assist them when predators manage to get a hold of them. It would be an almighty feat for 3 lioness to bring down this bull. Hello, Nikki Austin. It's great to know you watching. Oh, there goes the eland. There goes the lioness. Awesome. What is going to happen? She could jump onto his back. You see, no. It was deceptive. I thought she was gaining up to him faster than she actually was. And maybe she actually put on the brakes when she realized how big they were. They're right on the edge of our infrared range, sadly. Whew! Well, that was exciting. And Nikki, good to know you're watching. I completely forgot the question you asked me after all that excitement. How bright is the moon? Will the eland see them? The moon hasn't yet to rise. It'll probably be rising in about the next 15 to 20 minutes. So it was pitch black. I don't think the eland had any assistance with the moon light, but they did manage to spot those lions, as you saw, before they could get close enough. Let's try and see what these other lioness are doing quickly. They may have poked their heads up. They were somewhere a little bit closer by. Well, that sure was exciting. There's some lightning off in the distance. Seeing as though we don't know where the Lioness are at the moment, what we're going to do is say goodbye to everyone who's joined us on Facebook. And thanks for joining in. Keep sure to check your notifications because Brent and Jamie are still out and about. I'm nearly back at camp, and who knows, maybe I'll also bump into these lion again and see what they get up to. Thanks for joining. We'll see you on the next safari.
Thanks so much for joining, everyone. I just had to keep quiet there for some reason. After we've had a Facebook crew join us, we have to keep quiet for 30 seconds, hence the psst. But it's been wonderful to have you on board. I'm glad we got lucky right at the end to contribute a little bit of high action with those Lioness. Be sure, like I said, to keep tuned in on Facebook for any notifications from Brent and Jamie if they get action on their vehicles. We'll see you all tomorrow on the Sunrise Safari. Thanks again. It's been awesome.